President Trump announces sweeping global tariffs for most countries. The levies won't hit until next week, but one key economic partner is facing an increased import tax today. The White House slapping Canada with a 35% tariff. Goods under the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement won't be affected by this, but other sectors like lumber and the auto industry, they will feel the impact. Trump says it's because Canada failed to curb the flow of fentanyl.
They have been charging very, very high tariffs to our farmers, some over 200%, and they've been treating our farmers very badly. They've been treating our country very badly for years. And look, we like Canada. I love Canada. I have so many friends in Canada, but they've been very poorly led. They've been very, very poorly led, and all we want is fairness for our country.
Canada's Prime Minister responded on social media saying, in part, Canadians will be our own best customer, creating more well-paying careers at home as we strengthen and diversify our trading partnerships throughout the world. We can give ourselves more than any foreign government can ever take away. CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand joins us from the White House with more on all of this. Good morning, Natalie. So give us a fact check here. What is the status of President Trump's many tariffs this morning?
Good morning, Errol, and happy Friday. Well, just ahead of this August 1st deadline, the White House released a list of the new rates for almost 70 trading partners. And those tariff rates range from 41% when you're looking at Syria down to 10% for some trading partners. And a senior administration official says that they broke it down into different buckets. Countries with smaller or non-existent trade deficits faced that smaller 10% baseline tariff. Countries that, were slightly a larger trade deficit faced 15%. And big trade deficits, they faced a rate set back or announced roughly what was announced back in April or based on how negotiations went. Now, when you're looking at deals or frameworks that have been announced, we're talking about 6 countries plus the European Union that reached agreements with the United States, even though the details are still being worked out. And again, some of those countries really significant in terms of trade with Japan and the European Union. As you noted, the new rates won't go into effect until next week. The administration says it's giving some time for customs officials to implement the new rates. And then when you look at our biggest trading partners, Canada, Mexico, and China, those are in separate categories still. Canada facing that higher 35% rate taking effect today. We've seen continued tensions in those talks. And then Mexico, the leaders agreed to a 90-day extension for negotiations to continue, and talks with China continue as well, facing an August 12th deadline to try to reach an extension, Errol.
Yeah, a lot of details in that. We'll speak more about how complicated this all is to follow later this hour. Natalie, I want to ask you about some of what we showed in the show open. There's a new interview with the family of Epstein abuse survivor Virginia Giuffre. What are they saying now?
Well, first and foremost, Errol, recognize that they're still reeling from the loss of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who sadly died by suicide earlier this year. And they've been out there speaking this week saying that the public and survivors want answers and that they will continue to fight for that. And they were also responding to the new comments by President Trump this week confirming that Giuffre was one of the Mar-a-Lago employees, one of the women working in the spa who the president says Epstein poached. And they took issue with that language saying, she's not an object. She wasn't stolen. She was recruited by Maxwell. And in their statement, they've also kind of questioned the timing since that happened in 2000, according to Giuffre and her family. And there's, again, been reporting that the falling out between Epstein and Trump happened years later. Now, the president was not asked about that timeline, but he was asked yesterday whether he knew why Epstein poached Giuffre. He said he did not. And then responding to the family, the White House has also said that the president did not bring Giuffre up himself, he was responding to a question, to a reporter asking, was Giuffre one of these employees who you're talking about was poached from Mar-a-Lago, Errol?
All right, Natalie Brand with the latest on that. Thank you so much, Natalie.